The first exhibition of 2020 at Stanek Gallery, entitled All Shall Be Well, features incredible new works by painter Jacqueline Boyd and mixed media artist Louise Strawbridge. The moment we saw the new bodies of work by these two gallery artists, we knew they belonged together, and we knew that the best time to share it with everyone was the beginning of a new decade. Both Jackie and Louise had professional, successful careers for many years that served and satisfied them in various ways, yet both felt the need for a change. There is no easy path, no matter your life situation. Change like this takes incredible courage. These two women, driven by passion and desire to create, followed a personal and non-traditional path to an art career. That experience and evolution is reflected in their work.
My name is Jacqueline Boyd. It wasn't until I was in my mid-40s that I seriously pursued a formal education and committed myself to becoming an artist. I was born in Atlantic City and still live in nearby Brigantine, New Jersey. My late father, Jim Boyd, was a skilled commercial sign painter back when everything was done by hand. By the early 80s, as the field was transitioning into digital, our family shop moved to a 6,000 square foot facility in Atlantic City, where it remained until 2017. I worked there full-time from 1981 to 2001, but remained involved until its closing in 2017. My work was administrative, not artistic. I had no interest in commercial art.
My name is Louise Strawbridge. I never formally studied fine art or even art history in college. I majored in English literature and did my graduate school thesis on John Donne. What interests me is what transforms ordinary language we use every day into art. How Donne turned it into poetry. This is still my interest. How to transform the ordinary, non-art materials I find or make into art.
I entered PATHA in 2002. It took me 5 years to complete the 4-year program because I worked part-time in the shop. I questioned my decision constantly. Should I continue? Was I being selfish? Was it foolish to give up my job at that stage in my life? Thankfully, my husband Pat always encouraged me. Without his support, I couldn't have done it.
I taught English for many years. Then one of my sisters and I decided to start exchanging letters with art in them. I didn't think of myself as an artist, but this felt exciting. Eventually, I was making artist books and assemblages and cigar boxes from things I picked up that attracted me from the street. In 1996, a gallery in Chestnut Hill asked me if I'd like to have a show. So this was the beginning of my feeling like a professional artist.
Nature, memories, family, familiar trees and landscapes, beloved places like my studio, my home, my childhood home, and the shop. These are the subjects I return to again and again. My paintings evoke reality but break from it at the same time. Places and spaces are recognizable, but often merged or combined to form something more felt than rendered.
I lived in London for 4 years and have done a good bit of travel. I have found bark cloth in Uganda, Irish pay envelopes in England, roofing paper in China, calligraphy in Japan. My studio is filled with these found or made things. Tea bags, gut, homespun linen, mended things, and handmade papers are other things that have a psychological connection for me. At first, working with these non-art found objects made me doubt what I was doing. Was I wasting my time just playing around? But they have led me to everything I do now, and it made me learn to respect my instincts.
About 10 years ago, I worked on an interior painting of my studio. Painstakingly measured and tightly painted. I thought, this is perfect. The next day, I knew it wasn't. I wanted something more, but what was it? I began to deconstruct it, painting over top of it in a reckless manner, certain I was destroying it out of frustration. I started to see a looseness, a beautiful aliveness happening to the well-planned-out structure underneath. A new painting emerged, one that didn't just depict the lines and angles of an empty space, but one that captured the feeling of the space.
Sometimes I have an idea first and look around how to execute it, and sometimes I'm interested in a new material for me, like a paper I've just made. I'll look at it for a while and associations start. Once, when I felt stuck, an artist friend said, "Can you use that?" Happily, I had an epiphany. Stuck was transformed into tape as a media, and I made 20 pieces with tapes painted over with acrylic.
I start with a chaotic foundation of color, determining the palette as I work, picking colors which may or may not have any connection to reality. As I begin to paint over the chaotic first layer, I begin a push-pull, making choices continually about what to add and what to leave. I'm searching for a feeling or memory about the subject as the painting unfolds. During the process, I have an idea where I'm going, but it always changes. Surprising or unexpected things occur, and I follow them, letting the painting dictate its course. This is always the right thing to do for me. Sometimes it's a little scary, and I actually say to myself, don't be afraid. Paint over that part you really like, because there's something better to be found than letting go. There is a surrender on my part.
Most work comes from the work I've just finished. Ripping out phrases from old books led to my noticing the covers that I used for this show. At first, I noticed the wear and tear and the children's scribbles, a kind of history. I worked at a bookbindery in London and became aware of the lovely aspects that aren't seen in a finished book, like the inside of the spine or the holes and strings of the binding or the work of insects in old paper. All of these are used in the collages. The vessels appeal to the female in me, like Erik Erikson's notion of women in the inner space. I usually begin with a rim-like worn metal I've found. Then I build the sturdy structure with carpenter's wire and layers of paper mache. Then the outer layers are mostly roofing paper, bark cloth, or strong Japanese papers.
Fusion 2 is one interior painted over another interior. The shop painted over my living room. I painted my living room quite precisely and intended it to initially stand on its own. It sat for a while, and then at some point, deconstruction or reworking into a combined space was the outcome. I allowed some areas from the painting below to remain and show through and become incorporated into the painting. There is a merging of time and space, leaving parts of the painting underneath to create something new and vibrant to the overlapping image. Many of my interiors are merged in this way.
My process is labor-intensive and done by hand. This slows me down and allows me to be meditative, which release memories, feelings, and associations. When I occasionally teach art, I tell my students to resist trying for perfection, to show the human hand, to rip, not cut, measure by eye, not with a ruler, Be willing to make mistakes, unlike a machine. I love being in my studio. It's like my insides, shown in visual things. All my materials are organized, no plastic, they're in labeled wood boxes. I have 4 large tables where I work, usually having several things going at once.
I have lived in the same coastal town for 58 years, and over the years when I walk, I'm taken by the beauty and the gesture of trees I pass by over and over. In the painting Lean on Me, I painted a tree in front of the home where I and my 6 brothers and sisters grew up. My dad died 3 years ago, but he would take these walks, and then, out of breath, he would rest against this tree. Trees remind me of people, taking care of each other, standing tall, adapting to change. There's a silent form of communication, more than meets the eye.
My relatives were Reformed Mennonites in Lancaster County. I spent so much time with them, adored them, and was influenced by them, not the religion, which I rejected, but their values. Simplicity, modesty, frugality, loving, cleanliness, the grays, blacks, whites of nearly everything in their world. At Sunday meeting, I heard a cappella singing, direct, no-nonsense preaching, and their deep commitment, where they saw God's grace in simple or mysterious things. I see and seek out simple beauty and then try to communicate that mystery.
Being an artist has been the most fulfilling path I could have taken. I love going to my studio every day, just like a job, 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. My work ethic is the same as it was when I worked in the shop. I consider it a privilege to be able to do this. My life as an artist really has no hours, though. Everything I do, everywhere I go, my memories, my family, my home, all overlaps into my art.
That idea of a hidden beauty really appeals to me. It's mysterious and surprising. I think art should surprise, or at least highlight something new to the person looking at it. Even if it is sometimes disturbing, it can still have deep and profound spirituality and beauty.
Success for me is when I have persisted when it was hard, searched when I didn't think I could find what I was looking for, put myself aside and just listen quietly and let the journey take me, instead of trying to control the outcome. My art is about my life, what I have loved and will always love.
I love it when someone says, "I don't know why, but I feel drawn to that piece you made." It means my personal vision is more than that, more universal, and my private feeling has connected.